What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm also going to break down why Tesla's looking quite promising going into next week alongside the whole market. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So I just wanted to say that as far as Tesla is going, okay, I think that we're doing a good job at getting bought back up. Initially, Tesla was very, very weak, especially during the pre-market as we saw Tesla dip to the very low 380s. I was initially worried that there could be a small dip coming before we start to get a bounce closer towards our like 50 EMA. But instead, we held support very, very nicely, and we started to get bought back up to about 390. So as Tesla was getting bought back up, although I did initially think that there was that risk of downside, I released this video right here about why I thought there was going to be a temporary bounce. In the video, you guys can see that Tesla was in the 390s, and I mentioned I expected to go to about the 400s. It went all the way up to about 410 instead. So we did call this bounce later on, and the move did end up panning out. So the question is, what's happening now? What is the market doing? And the answer is, despite the fact that we've been on this big downtrend, the market is starting to bounce. And I think that there could be a potential squeeze that's starting. And I think that there might be some upside just to start off next week. I also think that as long as Tesla holds some key support, it's going to try to push more. And I'll break down exactly why I think that. Now, the first thing I want to do, though, is talk about what's happening with next week. So just know that for next week, starting off with Monday, January 6th, 2024, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI and Services PMI reports coming out. So look for some volatility when they come out. For Tuesday, we also happen to have the JOLTS job openings and job quits reports, not to mention the ISM services data. So we'll see what happens with that. For Wednesday, we also happen to have minor data coming out in the morning, but then we have the FOMC minutes coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then for Thursday, just know that we have just jobless claims coming out, not to mention a couple of Fed speakers. And besides that, there's nothing else that's too crazy coming out for Thursday, at least in terms of data. However, just know that there is something else that's coming out. It's going to be former President Jimmy Carter's funeral, sadly. So I want to send condolences to his entire family and just say that he will be remembered as one of our presidents for many, many centuries, if not thousands of years to come. So Jimmy Carter's funeral is sadly happening on January 9th. And in commemorance of that, the stock market is going to be closed. There will not be trading on Thursday, January 9th. Please mark your calendars for that. And then for Friday, we have some unemployment numbers coming out. So look for some volatility then because of that. So as a reminder, the market's open from Monday through Wednesday of next week. Most of the data is quite minor besides like FOMC minutes and some things like that. Thursday, the stock market is going to be closed. Then for Friday, we have some jobs numbers coming out before market open. I hope that's as clear as possible. Anyways, besides that, we have very minor earnings coming out for next week. There's nothing too serious that's coming out. It's just Jeffries and a few more like Delta Airlines. But then the week after this week, the week after the week that's coming up, I just want to say that we have very important earnings starting off with big bank earnings. And then the weeks prior to that, the weeks after that, we have big tech earnings and factors like that. So earnings season is about to kick off. We're starting off with minor ones. Then the week after next week, it's going to get a lot more serious. So get ready, guys. Make sure you guys are prepared for that as the days progress. Now, I also want to mention that the fear and greed index was at extreme fear. It started off at extreme fear yesterday. Now it's just at fear, which is a sign that the market's trying to rebound. Momentum is at fear. It used to be at extreme fear. Now it's just at fear. And we also happen to have the put to call option ratio at neutral. It did start to go up just a little bit, so we'll just have to see if this could maintain its place or not. And finally, the VIX, it's neutral for now, but there are some gaps below for it to fill. And then we'll just have to see if the VIX continues to dip. So the VIX is now showing some weakness, and the market is showing some strength, which makes me suspect the market has more upside potential. So as far as Tesla goes, what do I think is going to happen from this point on? Honestly, guys, we're going to be looking to see if we could hold above 410 or 20 EMA. As long as we hold that, we have some gaps to fill. There's this first gap all the way up towards this 432 area, and we have gap resistance around 425. So make sure you watch both of those resistance areas. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to attempt to hold above this. We'll see if we get a small dip here or not, but as long as we manage to close above and hold above the 410 area, we're looking for another attempt to get up to 425, then 432 as our next resistance. So I favor upside for Tesla as the most likely possibility. For other factors out there, we have SPY. SPY on the daily time frame is looking quite good. We have 591 as our main support. As long as we're above that, we're looking for the gap fill back up to about 595. Then 599 is going to be our next resistance above that. Overall, I just want to say that yes, there is the head and shoulders on SPY. However, sometimes these could be traps. They don't always play out. And although it is still possible that we kind of like pump and then dump, we're not ready for a big dump right now, okay? I think that the market's going to try to rebound first, and then we'll see if we make a lower high again and we get a rejection in the higher 590s to start dumping again, or if we just break past the 590s to go straight up to the 600s. That could always be a very big manipulation move to trick people because of this head and shoulders. Okay, so I hope that's as clear as possible. Could the head and shoulders play out? Yes, it still could in the future, but for right now, it does not look like it's going to pan out. It does not look like we're going to see a big dump just starting tomorrow or like next week. It looks like we're going to start off with a push, and then we'll see if the push leads to a big rejection for the head and shoulders to play out. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for now. We're starting off with this push, and we'll see how well this lasts. I anticipate that as long as we're above 591, we're looking for 595 as our target. Then this gap will back up to about 600. So please keep those levels in mind. For ES, it's the same thing. There's a head and shoulders. Yes, it could play out in the future, but to start things off, we might push for first, and then we could reverse later on just to see how things go. But I think we're going to try to push back up to about 6,000 plus and 6,030. If that breaks, we're looking for a bigger push. I think we push for the low 6,000s, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not. But there's upside potential for 6,000 plus, so give this the time it needs. For Nvda, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders that's forming right over here. There's a left shoulder here, there's a head, and there's a right shoulder. If we continue to break past the 144 area and hold above it, we're looking for 146 as our next potential target. If we lose 144, we're looking for 142 as our next support. Overall, the inverse head and shoulders is looking quite decent. Nvidia is holding up very well. I think it could be trying to go for 146 plus. I've been talking about this for the last couple of days about how it may attempt to bounce, but I said to watch and see if we could break 142 to turn bullish. If we couldn't do that, we would reject. And if we did do that, we would turn more bullish. For now, we held above 142 quite nicely, so I see some more upside potential for higher levels. For Bitcoin, we look more bullish on the daily. We're holding above our 20 EMA as long as we don't lose 96,600. We're favoring 100,000 as our target or above. So I think that this is favoring this imbalance fill and a push for 100,000. I think we're doing a fantastic job so far. Once again, Tesla's doing good so far. We just got to hold 410 going into next week. As long as we hold that as the days progress, we're looking for that gap fill for a nice rebound for 432 plus. I think we're doing a fantastic job. For NQ, as long as we don't lose 21,350, we're looking for an attempt for 21,600 as our next potential target. We could be trying to push there, if not above that, so watch to see if that ends up being the case. For the QQQ, as long as we're above 519, we're looking for that gap fill for 522. And if that breaks, we're looking for essentially 525 as our target, followed by the gap fill for just under 529. So I think we look bullish, but I want to see if we can break 519 for confirmation. This could be a sign it's going to see a temporary rebound looking at the daily, and I see potential in this. For Apple, we have not lost 241. I called out how 241 to 242 could be a good area for this to base at. I would like to see this doji form leading to a little reversal. This could be trying to form a reversal based off this candlestick, but as long as we hold above 241, it should try to bounce back up to 246. I'm hoping Apple gets the bounce, so we'll see how it ends up going. For Palantir, we talked about the possible cup and handle that was forming. I talked about this for many days. We held support very, very well, and I'm going to be watching for a test of 80. If that breaks, we have a gap to fill back up to 82, and this could be pushing higher. For the IWM Russell 2000, although there was a possible head and shoulders, we are looking a bit more bullish on the daily now. As long as we don't lose 222, I'm favoring a push to 226. 226 and eventually 227.8. So I see some potential upside coming right over there. For Coin also has upside potential around 270. As long as we hold above 270, we're looking for essentially 275 and 279. So we'll have to see if that breaks or not, but I see the upside potential right over here. For Amazon, we have more upside potential. If we break resistance around 225, we'll be watching to see how 227 is looking for that gap fill. So I see some more upside potential right over here. For Meta, we have this resistance at 610. If we break this or not, we'll just have to see how it goes. If we lose 600, we're going to be dipping, but we'll see if 610 breaks or not. So give this the time it needs, at least at that resistance. For Microsoft, we'll have to see if we could hold 417.5. As long as we hold this, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 426. If that breaks, we're looking for essentially 430 as our next target. Overall, I think we're doing a great job. For Google. We'll see if Google could hold 189 or not. As long as that holds, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 195 or higher. If we lose 189, we're going to be dipping, but I think that this is favoring 195 plus as we're getting bought back up. I also want to mention that the VIX has gotten a rejection, and we have two gaps over here. So if you look over here, there's a gap to fill in the VIX at 15.96. There's another gap down here around 15 flat, and then there's this gap down here around 13.8. So that makes me think the VIX is going to be dipping lower and that the market's going to try to push higher. So I know that this is a bit of a shift compared to what I was saying previously about how the market was looking bearish, but I also talked to everyone about how to turn bullish, you have to break some key levels, and the market's trying to break those levels. So the market's starting to shift right now. We are starting to favor upside. We'll see how well Tesla holds 410 going into next week. We'll see if we get a small dip to start things off before it tries to push higher. I would love to see Tesla hold at least above 410. As long as it does that, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to about 420, 425, and eventually the gap fill all the way up to about 432. Overall, Tesla's doing very well. I'm going to conclude my video from here. I thank you all so much for listening, and I'll try my best to upload a video tomorrow, depending on my schedule. So I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Until then, have a good rest of your day, guys, and peace out.